Hi, welcome to our conversation with Victor Niederhoffer. I'm Yelena Sennett, and today is January 4th, the first trading day of the year. And what a day it was! Lots to talk about. Super fun day, if you're not terribly long, I guess. The S&P 500 futures made all-time high at 3773 early this morning before the cash market opened, and it was selling off ever since. It was pretty much straight down day till noon. We sold off 120 points, and I really don't think people expected this on the first trading day of the year. I certainly didn't. I certainly didn't expect such a large sell off, and there was no shortage of negative headlines today. You can pick your own headline for the sell off. Britain has started a new national lockdown because they found this even scarier COVID virus is getting scarier. People can only leave their homes to shop or work, exercise, go to the doctor, or escape domestic abuse. They found the same virus in New York State right now, so there is lots of health scares going on. On top of this, the outcome of the Georgia election finally made it to the mainstream media. Victor has been talking about it for a few days, and now it's finally made it to the mainstream, and people are scared that the Democrats may just win the election there. On top of this, there are some concern about the electoral college count. And in addition, there are some billionaires scaring people, like Carl Icahn today warned about the painful correction ahead. So lots of negative headlines and a negative day to start the year. Maybe Victor can tell us later if there is any prediction based on that first day sell off. What does it bring for the rest of the year? Victor?
Well, there's always some negative news. I'm not sure there was more negative news today than any other day. The main thing that happened is the small investor has been exceedingly bullish. They've been making money hand over foot in the NASDAQ and special purpose. Special purpose and options.
Right?
There, there's tremendous one-sidedness in terms of the options on the buying the calls side. And all the ETFs that follow momentum have been taking in more money. They've been going up. We closed at a new high. Everybody was extremely optimistic. And then when it broke 2750, that was a level that, as we know, has a gravitational impact.
Right.
But instead of going back up above it, when it went down from 2770 to 2740, it continued down, hit a low of 36.50. So it had gone down a good 120 points.
Yep.
But you can't keep a good man down. It wanted to go above the round number of 3,700 at the end. It went up 50 points from the low pretty continuously. And I think the round number will exert its gravitational impact. I think just a small investor has been making too much money, and they got a good scare, good comeuppance, but the market, the buy and hold strategy always is a good one to follow. And regardless of all the weak sellers, market was only down 1.25%. So if all that decline, NASDAQ was only down 1.5%. We're still almost at the highs.
Right.
And to me, the scary thing was that everything was at a high yesterday, so it was a very inflationary day. And the statistics on they eventually will announce a consumer price index and a producer price index, and they'll make when they have the highest reading ever in those announcements, there'll be some academics who say, well, you have to discount all the movement in commodity prices because they're ephemeral. But if everything is at a high, everything you buy is going to be pricier. And the bonds always move so that they take into account the level of inflation, and they give 1%. They give you 1% above that. If inflation is 2%, and that means that the long bond would be 3%. That would be a disaster. That market, that would mean the bonds would be down another 10 points. It was amazing that the best harbinger of inflation now is Bitcoin. That is sort of half the degree of wokeness and half the degree of inflation. So it's sort of like a coin that has 50% of its movements in inflation and 50% in terms of wokeness. Gold almost got to 2,000 today. It was up 3 big days in a row. Up up almost 8% in 3 days. So that and Bitcoin are registering inflation. NASDAQ was only down 1.5%. What do you see on the president? The president refuses to concede with dignity. He's shown himself to be very self-aggrandizing. I think he's creating a lot of negativeness for the Republicans. It will be a true disaster if the Democrats win the Senate by taking Georgia. I noticed that Warnock is almost 2-1 to beat Loeffler now. And the other race is very close, 53 to 47. So we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Right.
The Europeans are doing a lot worse than the U.S. in the stocks. So that's very bad. There are a lot of bad things hanging in the firmament. However, tomorrow we should see an up day back above the round number. The first day of the year has generally been rather bullish, so it's very surprising that it went down as much. Margin debt is at an all-time high. All things, a typical panic, starting with 1887, 73, 1907, occurs when the big boys have unloaded their high priced, their high tech stocks, and then there are no more small investors to take them. They say that now 1/3 of all trading is by the public.
Right.
So that's what I see.
Well, it was interesting today that Tesla really hasn't sell off together with the broad market. So I don't think that the small investors from Robinhood are properly scared yet. So I really don't think that sell-off is completely done one day and done. I mean, maybe we'll have up tomorrow. I have no idea. But I don't think it's properly scared off the small investors yet. And Bitcoin has been going up insanely over the last couple of days. As the equity market was closed, Bitcoin went up almost 20%. It really depends on which exchange you look, which price was trading. But on Coinbase, Bitcoin went up 20% since we closed the equity market on Thursday. Then it managed to sell off from 29 to 35,000 almost. Then it managed to sell off to 28,000, and now it's back at 31. So those 20+% wild swings in Bitcoin I guess the volatility in Bitcoin is back. I don't know what that means for Bitcoin price going to the future, but it's certainly not something that I could trade because it's just too high volatility. But for people who have invested in it, I guess I don't.
Well, if if the D's win the Georgia runoff, Bitcoin could go through the roof because Bitcoin is reflecting, it's anticipating all the draconian government regulations and government interference in the economy, and so that.
But why couldn't Bitcoin be regulated? Like everybody thinks that Bitcoin is this untouchable thing that nobody could ever touch. The government could easily come in and regulate the Bitcoin, and they may not get 100% of the transactions, but they would get 80% of the transactions. I mean, all of the exchanges have not all, but most of the exchanges have your personal information, they have your social security, they have all of your bank accounts in and out. It's not that hard to regulate Bitcoin. They could regulate exchanges, they could regulate transactions coming in, out, everything they could. So why wouldn't the Democrats regulate Bitcoin? I mean, it's free money for them to get from people. Why wouldn't they?
Well, as Andy said, the reason for Bitcoin is not the anonymity, it's the flexibility and the portability and the fact that no one can take it away from you. So I'm reminded of what the founders of PayPal stated. They were so big so early that it would have created a lot of negative publicity. A lot of people would have been hurt, a lot of votes would have been lost if there was regulation. And I think a lot of the startups, same thing with Uber, it
Right.
got big so fast that it became something that the public gained a lot of utility from, and the regulators dare not regulate it. I still go with the thing that Victor Hansen said, that the wokes have been holding their fire until the new president is inaugurated, and then we're going to see a lot of interference, a lot of preference for unions and preference for pensions, preference for the technology.
Right. Perhaps even raising the federal minimum wage, which should be inflationary. As it is, many states are raising the minimum wage starting January 1st. But if the Democrats pass it on the federal level, it also could be inflationary in addition to other printing stuff, spending.
Well, as always, there are cross currents in the market. It's bullish for the next day or two, but bearish for the
Right.
long term. However, you never you never can make money by selling the market short, so it's good to buy and hold. There's always a lot of negative news, and that's my view. Okay, let's wrap it up for today.
Sounds good. Thank you
Thank you.
for the good prediction
I
information.
don't know that, you know, I'm reminded of in my heyday, several firms said, you know, we have a special team that watches exactly what you do so that we can go along with it. And then several other teams, several other people said, we are watching everything you do so we can go the opposite way.
That's right.
So I certainly am not the be all and end all. I'm mortal like everybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.